get started. Okay, so welcome. You last week I sent you all a video message because I had a feeling, at 2 o'clock you may have said, "Oh, what time is that call? Let me get on that." So just in case you were missing me as much as I was missing you, I sent you all a video message last week that just in the emails that I know you're just dying to get from me every week. So sent a little video message. Welcome back. We're now in our every other week format. So every 2 weeks now. Yeah, there you go. So Gibbons, I'll make that announcement in a minute. And so we're on our every 2 week format now. And, with last week being 4th of July week, I thought that this was a good time to put that into place. And so let me get started though. Let's get started with our opening question. Our format or our topic today is probe and shadow. And we've been having this conversation a lot over the last 3 months. And what I'm noticing, we've done some phone shadowing recently with a number of your sales teams and a number of your reps. And here's what I'll share with you what we've been finding overall. But the general message is that COVID has magnified a vulnerability or exposed a vulnerability in your business model. Okay. If you have only one way to do business or only one way to collect money or only one way or limited ways, it's not that it's good or bad. It's just there is a vulnerability in every business model. And so if you are an indoor restaurant and that's the only way you do business, then you might say, well, the vulnerability in my business model that COVID exposed is unless people can come in, we can't serve them. Okay, well, we don't have a delivery service. We don't have curbside. We don't do a meal at-home meal delivery service. Not just Grubhub, but a meal delivery service. And so, what is the vulnerability in your model? We can only come between 9 to 5. We can only deliver to an office. We can only physically go into a residence or go into an office in order to deliver our service. We don't have alternative methods of delivery. So take a moment and type in what is the vulnerability in your business model that COVID exposed. Okay, in our business, we get a lot of our leads through my public speaking. Well, that all went away. All in-person, large-scale events are essentially internationally gone, at least till the end of this calendar year, most likely. I've got a couple that are on the books for September. We'll see if they hold. But even now with the rising cases in COVID, I've got a few international keynote presentations that are scheduled for the month of January. And will I even be allowed to do them? Maybe the event's going to happen, but where I'm at, and will I even be allowed to go there, do that without having to quarantine for 2 weeks straight before it even starts? See what I mean? So what is the vulnerability in your business model that COVID exposed? Okay. And Julia will read those off so we could talk those through a little bit more as we go, because what I'm seeing is that it's trickling into, or we haven't pulled it out of the sales team. And we haven't, whoever is doing business development on any level or on every level, it might be sneaking into, or we haven't caught it yet and got it out of their scripting. Okay. And I'll talk about that in a little bit more depth here. So as you guys know, we are running a free comeback coaching class. You're starting with July 28th is our first one, and 4 classes 7 to 9:30 p.m. Tuesday night, live, no cost. For just us, we're going to put together your comeback story, and the essentially it's how to turn this adversity into an achievement, into a future achievement. It's going to be it's a very tight 4-step process I'm going to take you through. We're going to get you a copy of the book, The Anatomy of a Comeback, and use that as a backdrop for our class. So if you haven't done so thus far, send me an email at materials@carlgould.com with comeback in the line, or text message 26786. That's our phone number, and put the word comeback in there, and we'll make sure that we get you registered for the class. I think we've got 22 registered for the class right now. So really good class is developing, and we're going to look to build a bit of a community around that group as well. Now, going back to it, here are a few of the things that we have been noticing as we've started to do some phone shadowing. All right. So here's what we're liking. What we're liking is, by and large, very good conversation, right? It's meaning the team and the reps are handling the conversations very professionally, thinking well on their feet, making a good reconnection, doing the research, getting on the call saying, hey, last time we did business was this, when can we do business again? But here's what we're hearing a lot right now. And this has happened over the last couple of weeks, where it says number 3, they're struggling with what I call the line. Okay. When do I cross the line as a salesperson? When do I not cross the line? What is that line? Is there a line? So in other words, when is the line to cross when it's too soon for me to ask for the order? Is it too soon for me to be pushy about an order? Am I being too pushy? Do I even have the authority or credibility with this prospect or client to even make a bold offer, or to be a little bit confident, or be assumptive with the sale? Or should I back off a bit? So what we've been doing with some of you all in your sales team is, we've been listening into the phone calls they're making to prospects, clients, when it's time to make a pitch for a pricing presentation, and or maybe they've already sent a presentation and this is a follow-up. Okay, so basically the way it works, and again, we'll do it all with you all as well, is we get on the phone, you then start calling the prospect. When you hang up, we stay on the line, or we just call each other back, and we're listening to what did we hear that we loved, and what would we do a little bit differently, or make a process improvement or an improvement. And these are the things that we're hearing over and over again. Okay, so number 1 is they're struggling. Whoever you have talking to the customer is likely struggling with the line. Am I crossing the line? I'm just a salesperson here. I happen to have the owner or a C-level executive on the line. Who am I to dive into these things? I don't know that I'm at that pay grade yet. Do I have that authority? Do I have that credibility? Right? And so, so under number 3 here, 1, 2, and 3, they are struggling a bit with this, right? So they're not necessarily closing, or they're feeling like they're being pushy, or I get the person on and they sound rushed, or they feel a little bit stressed to me, or I sense they're stressed. So I'm laying back a little bit. I don't want to hurt my next chance on the phone or in person with them. So I'm going to kind of just let it go right now. Right? Or I'm feeling like, I'm just the person who pushes the product or sends them the pricing. They don't think of me yet as their problem solver, trusted advisor, somebody that's in their inner circle. So maybe I ought to back off right now. It doesn't seem like a good time. I sound like I got him at a bad time. No, guys. It's the opposite. Right? So let's go down to number 4 here. And here's the bigger thing that we're hearing and seeing. And I've been doing some of these personally, by the way. They're not establishing the long-term vision with the prospect or the client. Right? Now there's some tactical things here, and there's also some long-term items. Right? So I'm going to take these in reverse order. 3, 2, then 1. Is I'm not hearing your sales reps, I'm not hearing you declare what your intent is. Meaning, I'm here to earn your business today. I'm here to get that project that we talked about back on track. I'm here to help you through this time. They're not making that definitive statement, that declaration. Look, I'm calling you now because I know it's been 3 months. It's been 3 months, and I've been going back through our record. You know, a few years ago, we used to do a lot of business together. My declaration, here it comes. I want to get back to that place with you. Oh, okay, well, that would be good. Well, we don't do as many of those projects anymore. That's why I haven't ordered in a while. That's okay. I want to find what it is we can do to serve you, and I want to serve you at that level or above or as frequently or more as we used to. That's my declaration. And they're not doing that. They're walking on a bit of eggshells, and I understand with the timing, you know, I like the fact that they're thinking that way. They're being empathetic, and they are thinking like, where exactly should I be here? But you want to win these people over. You want to win them back. You want to win them again. We have to declare that we want that. All right. Now, I've heard some calls where the person wasn't prepared or they forgot when the last time they bought was. I'm not saying every one was perfect. But what I haven't heard and what I'm listening for that I'm not hearing is, I'm not hearing the declaration. I'm not hearing, you know what? I'm responsible for this territory. I was told you're one of the businesses or one of the business leaders that I should be talking to. It is my goal that we get to know each other and I find out a way that we can help each other. So I'm going to be in regular contact with you. And I want to bring you value. You let me know the day I'm not bringing you value. Okay? I want to know what it's going to take to win your business. Because we've sat in on some calls and what a lot of the sales team is doing is deferring right to pricing. Well, let me send you my pricing. Let me send you a sample. Well, here's what we charge per whatever, per unit, per hour, per project. There's not the probing that we've talked about before. There's not the walk me through month by month what's going on. You know, if the world goes back to work July 1st, August 1st, whatever, what's that going to look like for you? I'm hearing, hey, you got some projects on? Yeah, we got projects. Oh, good. So let me send you some pricing. Oh, yeah, it's all about pricing. Oh, I knew it would be. It's only about pricing when there's nothing left but pricing. And if you're not showing enough value, then it's about pricing. Okay? So I'm not hearing that enough. Across the board, we've done, I don't know, 40 of these calls over the last couple of weeks. And we're not hearing that. So what that's telling me is either the sales team, even if you told them, they're defaulting back to old messaging. They're defaulting back to some other habits, you know, which may have been phenomenal habits before, but are not phenomenal habits now. Okay. So let me go, and then let me go to number 2. I said I'd work backwards. Number 2 is I'm not hearing the salesperson or the rep give the owner enough, or the buyer or prospect buyer enough to do. All right, I'm going to look into pricing, but for our next call, I'll get to number 1 in a moment. For our next call, I'd like to hear what are the top 10 projects you've got working on right now. What's in your pipeline? Let's have a pipeline discussion. So I'm going to go away. I've got work for me. I want to give you some work. I'm going to take this on. I want you to take that on. Well, wait a minute. I'm just a salesperson. My job's just I can't make them do homework. You sure can. You absolutely can. Oh, you got this one project I'll be putting a price on? I'd love to hear about more. So one of the biggest, well, certainly at the time, the biggest projects I ever got in my career came very early in my career. So I live in Riverdale, New Jersey. And in the next town over, Pompton Lakes, New Jersey, DuPont had a explosive manufacturing facility dating back to World War II. Now, it's been closed for years, but there is a river that comes through this facility, and it spills out into Pompton Lake, hence the name. And this was an explosive manufacturing facility in World War II, and I mean, you talk old school. They used to, you could tell by walking in the buildings, materials would walk in one side, and then the exit of each little, and they had these individual manufacturing, they used to like build a bomb at a time. And if in case one went off, you could tell it was only going to take out this one little building. But every little building, the exit door was right next to the river. And they said, you know, back in the 40s, they used to take the waste and just dump it in a bucket into the river. So they had been dumping all these heavy metals and, you know, other contaminants in the river for decades. Okay, fast forward, and we're now in the late 80s and 90s. DuPont is now cleaning all this up. Okay, and so there are a few parameters that DuPont had negotiated with the state and the EPA as to how they could make this voluntary. In other words, the state wasn't going to come in and say, we're taking it over and you're paying for it. DuPont said, no, we'll handle it. And so they negotiated how the state and the EPA was going to allow them to do it. And one of the conditions was you have to hire local talent. You have to hire local contractors, and you can only award one contract per contractor. Okay? Stated right in the bylaws. Okay? Now, I was taught at the time, you go, if you want to build your business, you go out and you cold call. You go to various places, walk in. I was in the landscaping business at the time. And so the way I used to do it is I used to open up the phone book to a specific sector, and then I would take all the names out of that sector. So doctor's offices, construction companies. Well, the game I would play is I would close my eyes, open the book, put my finger down, and that's how I would pick an industry. How do you like that for science? Yeah. So anyway, I opened up to the industry of pizzerias. I'm like, oh, I guess I'm hitting pizzerias this month. And so I would go to all the pizzerias and I would say, I'm a landscape contractor. You know, I'm looking for work. Do you have any landscaping needs? I would ask them. So I go through all the local pizza joints in my immediate area. Okay. And I arrive at Tony's Pizza in Pompton Lakes, New Jersey. I walk in and I meet, guess who? Tony. All right. And I said, now Tony, he has his pizzeria in a strip mall, right? There's no front, there's no back, and the landscaping, he's not responsible for it. So I go in and I talk to Tony and I said, hey, Tony, this is my business. This is what I'm doing. This is how I'm doing it. And he says, you know, Carl, this is a great story. Unfortunately, we don't have any landscaping at all. However, there's this guy, Jim, who comes in like every day. He eats the veal parmesan. And if I'm hearing it right, he's in charge of the remediation. I think he's the senior project manager on the DuPont remediation project. You should go talk to him. All right. So I go down there and I walk in to the office of the project management office. And I said, hi, how you doing? I said, I'm here to speak with Jim. And they said, which one? Last thing I wanted to hear. And I'm like, and so I said, I don't know his last name. I was just told by Tony of Tony's Pizza to go talk to the Jim who orders veal parmesan 3 times a week and eats there for lunch. I hear laughing come out of one of the offices. So he comes out and he introduces himself. Now, senior project manager of a $150 million plus project. He introduces himself as Veal Parmesan Jim. So I say, hey, Veal Parmesan Jim, how you doing? And so he walks in and he says, so how can I help you? And I explained the whole thing. I said, well, you know, I'm a local contractor. I'm in the area. You know, I'm committed to serving this area. I was talking to Tony about what his landscaping needs are. And he mentioned that I should speak to you. And he was pretty sure you're the guy in charge over here. And he said, well, he's right about 2 things. 1, that I eat veal parmesan 3 times a week at his place. And 2, I am in charge. And I said, well, I told him what we do. And I said, so is there any work here for somebody like me? And he said, well, as a matter of fact, there is. Here's the requirements to become an approved contractor. And he said, and he told me, he said, here are the projects that we have for bid, and we are mandated that we can only give the projects to one person, one project per company. I said, okay, that's fine. And so he said, well, tell me about yourself. And I said, well, I actually went to school in town here. I went to school at St. Mary's in Pompton Lakes. And through the conversation, I could tell they were looking for some positive PR. Right? Now, remember, I'm only allowed to bid on one thing, but I'm going through the list and I see 5 things that I can bid on. 5. Okay? They all fit in my scope. So I tell them that I'm, a lifelong resident of this area. I played sports as a kid here. I currently coach basketball in that town for a dozen years. I've advised the parish. I had as a coaching client, the local parish right down the road. Oh, Father Kevin, that? Yeah, absolutely. I went to that school. So all of a sudden now I probed enough. I just met Veal Parmesan Jim now, unannounced, right? Okay. And so my declaration though was, I said, well, I'd like to help you as much as I can. I think I can help you. He says, it sounds like that. Pick whichever one that you, pick whichever one that you want to bid on and come on back and speak with me personally. So I go back and I put together a proposal for all 5 of the items that I think that I can meet their needs on. Veal Parmesan Jim says, oh, Carl, I must not have said it last time, but we're only allowed to accept your offer on one. I said, I understand that. I said, but I want all 5. And he said, well, I can't do it. I said, well, let me ask you a question. Who do you have for the other 5? Who do you have for these 5? He says, well, they haven't hired him yet. I said, well, I'll tell you what. How about this? I'm going to submit all 5 in the order I'd like them. Here's my most desired project, second most desired project. You pick me for the one that you think that I'm going to win. And I will project manage the other 4 until you get somebody. And as soon as you get somebody, I'll step away. And he said, I hadn't really thought of that. I said, yeah, because I got interviewed by the local paper. They put a press release out saying, oh, we hired another local contractor. I said, I'm one of 10 kids. All my family's from around here. Everyone knows our family name. I said, I'll be good PR for you. And he thought it over. All right, you're on. Okay. I worked 5 of those items for 2 years. What started out as a small little project turned out to be a multi-million-dollar project over the span of 5 years. Okay? And I was only supposed to be hired for 1. Now, let's think about that in the context of this page. All right? I can't see, has Joe Parrott come on? Or BJ come on? Okay. Julie, do we have Joe Parrott or BJ? He's with a customer. I knew that. And you know what? So I'll tell the story that Joe would have told had he been here. Hey, Alan. And but Joe has been going to meet with the CEOs of key accounts. And what he said, him and BJ, the CFO, and what Joe said to me this morning was, he goes, every time we go, we find a way where our 2 companies can do more business. We find some additional opportunities that wasn't there before. And he said, it's not because the sales people aren't doing their job. We're getting the feedback that they're very happy with the sales reps. He says, but what we're learning is as we talk more business to business, executive to executive, owner to owner, we're finding out that there's just more synergies. There's some other questions that we're asking, and there's some discussion lines that we're getting into that just simply weren't happening before. Okay? So I was the owner of my Dink Little landscaping company, and I was talking to Veal Parmesan Jim. And Jim was amused, a little bit entertained probably, but he was happy that, I talked to him about what's going on there and how can I help him. And I said, I want all 5. He's like, well, I can't give you all 5. All right, well, let's figure out how you can give me all 5. I can't give you all 5. Well, like, what can you give me? And what started out, which would have been a $50,000 or $100,000 project, turned out to be worth almost $2 million over the next over the next 5 years. So it became the largest contract in the history of my landscaping company. And it was darn near one of the largest projects I did as a construction company as well. All that just from establishing the long-term vision, setting up the next date and time, but declaring what it is I want to do with or for the client. Okay? We're not hearing this piece in the shadowing we've been doing. So some of it you say, obviously you always want to do this at any time. But right now, with the threat of, in the state of New Jersey, they just told us phase 2, we're not leaving yet, because the percentage of transmission of infection has gone over a certain threshold. It was under 1-to-1. It's now 1.03 to 1. So until that goes back down for a certain period of time, we're stuck at it, right? So this is starting to happen now in other parts of the country. Not that they're going to close down, but they're not going to continue to reopen in certain areas, and certain states are doing some reversals. And so we have business owners, and you might have clients now who are starting to go back into that survival cocoon and only thinking about the problem and not thinking creatively about how they're going to grow the business, how they're going to serve their client. So we want to get back in there with, whoever you have talking to your prospects, projects, and clients, right? If we're not doing phone shadowing with you right now, let's start doing some of that. And if for whatever reason you're not going to have us do it, start shadowing whoever's talking to the customer and see if they are struggling with the line, or they're okay with it, or are they not establishing the long-term vision with the prospect and doing the strategic, number 3, and the tactical, number 2 and number 1. And there's a few times when I've heard, well, I'll send you pricing, then I'll follow up. And they hung up the phone. No. Date and time, schedule that next meeting each and every time. So I wanted to throw that out to you because that's what we're hearing right now over these last couple of weeks. And we don't want that to continue. We really don't want that to continue. That would be a bit of a danger zone. And we want to help the sales team start to establish how they can talk their way in. Okay? Now, let's put a little bit of scripting around it. Remember I said before, your job is to get open, stay open. All right? Now, for some of you in the vulnerability, and we'll talk about that in a moment, is, because I'm going to stop at number 1 here, Julie, and then we'll read these out, is for your salespeople, they've got to talk their way in. That might be part of the challenge. I sat on a few calls where they're like, yeah, I'm not so sure. Things are so cloudy right now. We've got some projects. I'm not even sure if they're going to come off. I don't know, right? The salesperson didn't get in with that person. They didn't, remember last time, establish your position with the client. They didn't get in to establish the position with the client. So for some of you as a business, you got to get open. But for the sales team, they got to get in, and they're not getting in as well as we would have liked to have seen or observed. Okay? So I'm going to take a quick pit stop right there. Julia, what were some of the vulnerabilities that people listed as part of their business model?
Okay, so we had 3 come up. Gibbon said the same as you. Speaking gigs have gone.
Yep.
Kelly said our business is social, and the current health crisis encourages people to be non-social.
Gotcha.
And Anna said COVID exposed poor housekeeping procedures.
Poor housekeeping, right. So you're right. So and I heard this from somebody who owns a salon, is they were getting a lot of cancellations. They said, oh, we were booked, and then they started to cancel. So I didn't put it in any slide here, but guys, I have a feeling this is going to come out. And if it does, I'll put it out there now. Hashtag safe as home. There's only one reason why somebody wouldn't come to your office, wouldn't come to your facility, wouldn't accept your package, right? Everyone you're talking to, they're going home. Want to know why? Because they feel safe there. it's a known entity. It's a known quantity. You may not have established with your prospect, your employee, or your client that coming to work is safe as home. We need to, so let's get beyond or not even, we don't need to get into the discussion about sanitizing, social distancing, mask wearing, and all that, okay? Can you say, well, you can't prove, but could you say definitively or confidently enough that you, employee or customer, coming into our establishment is safe as home? Can we get pretty close to that? I think that's going to be what you're going to need to establish with your prospects and your clients, so they not only want to come to your facility, but they come to their facility. So I get what Kelly's saying. They're not being as social right now, but people are hanging out in their homes. We just want them to hang out over here a little bit more. So what can we do to demonstrate that our place of business is as safe for you to be, if not safer, than being at home? Okay? You know, if there is to take another extreme example, if there was a huge storm coming, like a big hurricane that was going to rip through, or a tornado or whatever, and you didn't think your house could withstand it, but there was a shelter right down the road that could, you'd leave and you'd go there because it's safe or safer than home, right? So clean as home, cleaner as home, safe as home, or more safe than home, whatever. But we've got to figure out how we can do that. We've got to establish that, because there are likely to be some either pauses or slowdowns. And so we've got to find our angle to get open as a business. But these salespeople, we've got to get in to establish that position. And one of them is going to be, can you instill enough confidence that you are safe enough, a safe enough place for, or you are practicing safe enough practices so you can go there, or they can come to you and it's safe as home. Okay. I saw a couple of other chats. Julia, did anything else come in? And that's okay. If not, I'll just move on.
No, that was it.
That was it. Okay. All right. So to put some scripting around this now, let's revisit the needs, wants, desires of the prospect and client. And one of the quickest way to find out what your buyer's priorities are, these are the priority elicitation questions. So what is the most important thing to you in this project, in our engagement, in this project, in this product or service? And they'll tell you, well, right now, most important thing to me is timeliness, responsiveness. Can you get here right away? Can you get here on short notice? Can you put me, can the turnaround time be quick? What is the second most important thing to you in this purchase? Well, I got to know that I'm only paying for this once. If this doesn't work out, what do you do for me? I need control. I need equity. I need cash. Okay, fine. What else is important to you? And then, is there anything else important? Anything else I need to know here? All right. Understanding these four questions, you will understand the hierarchy of how somebody makes decisions. And so whether it's you calling on a client, owner to owner, whether it's one of your sales team or customer service team, let's start asking these four questions, because this determines someone's buying hierarchy, and 70% of the decisions that they have made come from them answering the top two questions. What's the first most important thing, and what's the second most important thing? 70% of the decisions you make are likely, and that your clients and prospects make, is likely based on these top two. So number 3 and number 4, those will come into play 30% of the time. These are the tiebreakers. If I'm looking at two different options and they both satisfy number 1 and 2 equally, I'm going to say, which one satisfies number 3? Still a tie? Okay, let's go to number 4. Okay? And then number 3, we talked about establishing alternate methods of service on the last call. But these are some of the conversations to have with the sales team. And we should talk about limits of authority. What level of authority do you give the salesperson to make a promise? You may want to revisit that, because for many of you, it's gross margin percentage. Look, as long as you're bidding this out over a certain percentage, you're good. Go get them. Here's what you can promise. But can they promise, even for a short period of time, that they can run it right over to them right now? We can use a messenger service, okay? That we could do a pop-up demonstration or pop-up store, that we can deliver our service digitally. Can I offer a before-hour service option or an after-hour service option? Can I offer somebody a video tour as opposed to an in-person demonstration, or an online video-based or webinar-based pitch? We don't normally do that. Can I do that? So, and then can I deliver all or parts of my service? Do we have a digital delivery service option? Okay. Maybe we typically mail certain things, physical mail things. Can I send that via email? I would suspect your team could use a little refresher course on what their limits of authority are, on what they can promise. Because what your sales guys fall into the trap of is thinking that they are not an executive, that they're an underling and have an inferior posture than the person that they're selling to or the business they're selling to. Okay? And so we need to reestablish them as them positioning themselves as somebody who is a person of authority. They are an executive in this company and they get stuff done. And they are the people that make this sort of thing happen. Okay? So we want to be able to establish these alternative methods because we need a more diverse way that we can be servicing the client. And again, I am underwhelmed by the post-COVID messaging and service delivery of a lot of businesses. I'm not saying you fall into that. And we've had the conversation of what are the pivot ways and what are the ways we could serve. But generally speaking, I'm not seeing companies being terribly creative. There are a few and they get on TV and they're on the news and we get to see them and all. But overall, I'm not tremendously impressed. I'll give you an example. When we go down the shore, we pass by a TGI Fridays. They have curbside delivery and they serve a Beyond Burger. The next generation veggie burger that I am very much in favor of. Well, during COVID, their curbside delivery service was like a party. There were 10 cars in line. You know, you'd see the people come running back and forth. It was pretty cool. And it was almost an experience. They would come out, you can ask them a question about something. As soon as they were allowed to do outdoor dining, they killed curbside delivery. So you can still do it now, but you got to park your car, you got to walk inside because now they're allowed to do their curbside that way. That was a mistake. They should keep curbside delivery exactly as it is now until people stop showing up for it. And when I tell you there was a line of cars. Because we used to wait like 20 minutes out, we would call them and because you literally pull right up in front of the building and they walk right out with your order. They ask you what kind of car do you have? But now I've got to get out. Or somebody else in the cars gets out. We park the car, we got to walk across the parking lot. We don't pull up in front anymore. I think they missed out on something there. That's not being terribly creative. That's being convenient, not creative. And so, when we go to curbside now, there's not 10 people waiting, not 10 people in the car, not 9 people waiting outside the door. You know what I think's happening? People aren't ordering curbside anymore. They're not doing it. We go about the same time each time, same day of the week. And when I tell you there was a line, there's a line. They were on to something. They were on to an experience with their clients that made their clients feel more important. It showed that they were hustling on behalf of the customer. And now it's gone back to, we're open, come on in. What? Well, you know what? If you don't care, I don't care. I'll get my veggie burger somewhere else. I think they missed out here. Okay? I'm not getting, we get termite protection at our house. We get, stuff at the office. I haven't heard anybody say, we do have a 5 to 9 option, Carl. Well, we can come 9 to 5 when you're there, or we could do this from 5 to 9. I just had my car serviced. I said to him, I do, synthetic oil, and I put this Lucas oil treatment stuff in. We could argue right, wrong, whatever, but I do it, right? And he's like, oh, we don't do that. I said, you don't do that? What do you mean you don't do that? He says, well, we don't stock that. All right, well, can you get it? He goes, well, we prefer you go get it. I said, I just got done telling you 4 minutes ago, I'm going out of town for 4 days. I'm giving you the car because I'm going out of town. You won't just go get that stuff? It's right at the, I'm sure one of your suppliers has it. And you can tell he was visibly annoyed, like, oh, fine. Did they promise this to you? Like, did someone tell you we'll do it? And this was the manager. And so Frank said, yeah, we'll do that. We got you. Josh, the manager, was like, who told you that? I said, well, Frank did. And you could tell he was pissed. I'm like, dude, are you kidding? You've been shut down. I'm leaving you my car for 4 days for something that takes 4 hours. You can fit it in wherever you want. You just have to call your supplier and have them deliver a very common product and dump it in when you do the oil? What are we talking about here? I've been very underwhelmed with this. And guys, the way things are going, I'm confident that things are going to keep going the way they're going for the next year as it relates to the choppiness and a bit of uncertainty in, our closures and distancing and restrictions. It's going to be this little bouncy road. All right. And I think businesses have already gotten a little comfortable, and some of them have gone back to their old ways. And we have to guard against that. And what we have to do is take advantage of the client list of the companies that are not doing it. Okay? Which leads me into my last point for today. Okay? So looking at getting back to our acquisition discussion. Okay? And so I'm going to give you a couple of tips around this area. So we want to start looking for some additional opportunities. So here are some things that you can look at when that are some triggers of a distressed asset. Okay? So number one, what is the length of time on the market? How long has someone been looking for a job? How long has this been up for sale? Or has something been recently repriced? Either up or down. Because I raised the price, that could be someone trying to be a little tricky. Well, let's see if we can get a little bit more value out of this. Or, something gets repriced. We have a motivated buyer, the seller, right? Somebody's lowered the price, okay? And I love these. I love it when the seller has written their own bio and they say, we're really motivated. They are, okay? But whenever you hear motivated seller, that could mean distressed. Distressed asset, distressed entity. There could be a lot of areas there. All right. And when they say to you, oh, I've rejected offers under, if something's 500,000, right? And you say, well, Carl told me to offer 60%. I'm going to offer 300,000. And they say to you, come on, Alan, I already turned down an offer for 400,000. Why would I accept your 300,000? Well, guess what they probably just told you. How much debt are they carrying? What do they got to pay off here? Okay? So at least you know what you're working with, okay? And then we said start at 60% ARV, start at 60% of the market price, or ask, I say asking price, but assuming whatever the market is, right? And every deal, guys, every deal is worth it at the right price. So you say, no, you're asking 100,000 for that. I would, you know what, to be honest with you, I don't see it worth more than 10,000. So you explain that, explain why you think it's that, and then put in an offer at 10,000. Well, it's only worth 10,000 to me because of all the work I've got to do. I've got to knock down a wall at my building to even get this thing in the door, and you know, I'll have to do all this modification. I'm not offering 10,000 to insult you. It's just, you know, this is how it works for me. And place an offer in on everything. Everything. I don't want to insult them by making too low of an offer. You're not insulting them. You're helping them fix a problem, but you're not going to pay them for their problem. You're not going to pay them extra because for whatever problem they have. And remember that you're helping them get out from a potentially bad situation. All right. So two of you have taken, you know, if you remember Russ Miller from an earlier call we had, I think 2 calls ago, that would have been 3 weeks ago. Russ did a little presentation. 2 of you have taken him up on his preferred buyer program, where he charges a small one-time fee. He looks at the parameters of what business you would like to that would fit that you would like to buy, and then their team starts calling on them. They start prospecting on your behalf, right? So if you're interested in buying business assets, use Russ or somebody like that to start prospecting on your behalf. If not, if you're in business, let's start looking at the real estate that you operate in. Could we buy it? Let's look at alternative businesses that might either are an input to your business or you hand off to another business, right? So they're in the value chain, okay? Or at a minimum, let's at least start taking some of the cash that you have and start to convert it to some long-term assets, like, you know, deferred compensation in the form of either stocks or mutual funds or insurance, you know, key man insurance or long-term insurance products that would be valuable for you down the line. But let's start building up your assets right now. Now's one of the best times to start looking at, and getting the best value for assets. All right. So I was talking to Rob a little earlier. I think Rob might actually be on, but it's good to know that now and again, something I say, will resonate or stick with you. And Rob said, he goes, I think I remember you saying something like the 2 times in American history that created the most millionaires and billionaires were the last 2 major corrections in our history. The Great Depression launched the most millionaires in history, and the global financial crisis of 2008 launched the most billionaires in American history. And we are entering a correction like that again. So folks, wherever you are in your business life right now, you're going to look back 10 years from now, you're going to look back 10 years onto this time, 15 years onto this time, and you're going to say, yeah, I could have picked that up. I could have gotten that. I remember that was going for that cheap of a price. Okay? Remember, in 1997, I bought Apple Computer at $9 a share. $9 a share. Okay? Now, if I had just held that stock for the last 23 years, you know what it would be worth today? A lot more. I don't know the exact amount, but at a couple thousand shares at $9, and it's, what is it now? 200 bucks a share or something like that, split 5 times. I don't know. It'd be worth a couple $1 million today. Right now, I made money on it. I followed what they told me. Buy it here. If it goes over there, then it dips down, sell it. And I did. Yep. Me and Bill Gates, we both sold our shares around the same time. And so I made more than double my money. But you know what? I wasn't thinking long game at that time. I was thinking more short term. I was thinking more P&L, like, make more than I sell, buy, sell, buy, sell. I was thinking more transactional as opposed to long game, And hey, look, it worked out well, but it could have worked out a lot better, had I been thinking long game, and had I been thinking, building my balance sheet, not just my P&L. And we're going to talk a little bit more in depth on the next call about how to run your business using your balance sheet. I know, Bill, that's a near and dear subject to Bill Donnelly's heart, and how your business is a gateway and a lead generator. How your P&L can be a lead, your P&L can be a lead generator, your business be a lead generator for you to build your personal balance sheet. So I want to talk about that a little bit more, guys. I don't want to lose sight of the massive, and I mean massive, historic opportunity that is sitting in front of you to build your wealth and your business's balance sheet, so it will put you in a better position going forward. Okay? I don't mind you paying ridiculous rent when you're paying it to yourself. I don't mind you taking a smaller salary if you're also getting a million or more plus insurance plan. I don't mind your margins being a little bit lower because you're investing in another business. Okay? So there's the business performance, and there's why the business is performing where it is. Okay? So again, just some food for thought here. I wanted to kind of, as we got back together as a group, and we go to our every other week rhythm, we'll be back again on the 22nd. We'll be getting ready for our comeback class. If you haven't signed up, please sign up. Want to build some community around this and help you guys make sure that you're positioning yourself well for the for the coming rest of our time, this time during this pandemic. Let's see. So I saw some chats coming across. Oh, you had to do it. So, Apple is now at $379 a share. Is that right? Oh my God. That just hurts. So I got it at 9. So how many times has Apple split in the last 23 years? Like, what would it be in 1997 dollars? I think I had a little more than 2,000 shares at the time. But hasn't it split? Like, I don't know. I'll do the research and just show how bad of a decision it was to sell that at the time. But hey, what can I say? Okay, let's see if there's any final comments before we. July 21. Okay, cool. So Julia, our comeback class starts July 21st. Is that right?
That's correct. Yes.
21st. Okay, 21st. Right on. So that's going to be 13 days from today, Tuesday, July 21st. Then we're going to go 21, 28, and then first two. All right, Todd's going to rub salt in the wound. If I purchased $1,000 of Apple in June of '97, it'd be worth $632,000, and I had, so times that by 20. Ah, ouch! Oh my God! Don't multiply it by 20, because that hurts even more. It's $12 million, Carl. $12 million. Well. Okay, well, I was feeling pretty good about myself until I walked into this one. So it'd only be worth $12 million today. All right. So I'm looking back on I'm looking back on 97. And so yeah, my investment would have been worth 8 figures at this point. So 4 times. It's split 4 times. Oh, this gets worse and worse. All right, I digress. Okay, guys. Well, I wanted to leave you with those thoughts. We have, yes, and I got your note. Yes, we can absolutely have this conversation. So one thing, Gibbons, make sure to fill out the, if you haven't done so thus far, so we can make the introductions for you. But Carl Gibbons on this call has a, by the way, if you join in on the class, we're going to get you an Anatomy of the Comeback book and enter the 7 stage, want an introduction, enter the 7 stages marketplace. Please fill out the form. Gibbons, do that specifically. Carl Gibbons runs a podcast called TEMA Talk, Third Eye Management Advisors Talk, TEMA Talk. And he's looking for people to be on his podcast. I suggested that he reach out to a number of you on this call. Gibbons, why don't you put it in the chat if you haven't done already? There you go. So look at the chat, Carl at thirdeyemanagement.com. There's his phone number, TEMA Talk. It's, he's had me on, but now that he's serious about guests, he wants to get some real guests on there. And so link up with Carl if you want to promote your business, want to be on the podcast. There's a number of you that I think would be great on the podcast with Carl. So by all means, do that. Gibbons, also fill out the Google form, and that way that'll trigger Melissa to start making some introductions as well. And she could put that out in the marketplace. So guys, welcome back to the call. I'm glad we're back on the call. We'll get the recording out to you 13 days from today. We're starting the comeback class. If you're not signed up, please sign up for it. I too will show you how to turn a $12 million Apple investment into 20 grand. It's not easy to do, but I pulled it off. And we've set the agenda for the week. Number one is shadow your sales team. Either have us do it or you do it, but shadow your sales team. Listen for, are they probing? Are they establishing themselves? And are they establishing themselves with a position with a client? And are they taking that inferior posture as opposed to positioning themselves as an expert? You got it, Stacy. And let's focus on that over the next 2 weeks. I'll see you 2 weeks from today. All right, we'll send out the invite. Enjoy the rest of your week. I hope you all had a great 4th of July week. Stay safe, stay healthy. Let's get open. Let's get in with the client. Okay? Have a good one, everyone. Enjoy your week.